Alex, we should probably watch this to just get a sense. I mean, really, look, there are the real questions here are, well, the first question, the most pressing question is, what will Iran be forced to do at this point? Every government has their own domestic pressures. Soleimani was an incredibly popular, apparently, general in Iran. He was not involved in any domestic repression. This, people will hear this in the interview. The big question is what is Iran going to have to do to show that they have some type of national pride, and to make sure that the government exhibits strength to its people who largely are repressed, but at the same time to avoid a wider war? That's the first, I think, most sort of material question. The second question is, why did Donald Trump do this? And that's something we're going to talk about after the interview, but this lays the predicate for that question, because Donald Trump has no ideas about this that have not been formed by other people around him. And more often than not, when their ideas are formed around him or sold to him, they must benefit him personally. Mm-hmm. He does not have a long-standing perspective on this stuff. How do we know? Because now, I think I had heard Soleimani's name in passing, but I certainly didn't know much about him. I think maybe I read that thing in the New Yorker by Filkins, whatever it was, 2 or 3 years ago, and I didn't remember any of it. But if I was someone who was like ginning for a war with Iran, and I had a very sort of like drawn out geopolitical ideology that I wanted to impose in there, I would know who that person is. Let's go back now a couple of years to when Donald Trump was running for office, and Hugh Hewitt, former NBC host, I think he was an MSNBC host at the time, was interviewing Donald Trump. Listen to this. This is dark, folks. It's dark for multiple reasons that even expand beyond Iran, because the Kurds come up in here too.
Are you familiar with General Soleimani?
Yes. Go ahead. Give me a little. Go ahead. Tell me.
He runs the Quds forces.
Yes. Okay. Right.
Do you expect his behavior?
The Kurds, by the way, have been horribly mistreated by us.
No, not the Kurds. The Quds forces, the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Quds forces, the bad guys.
Right.
Do you expect his behavior to change as a result?
Kurds.
No. Quds.
I'm sorry. I thought you said Kurds. Because I think the Kurds have been very poorly treated by us. Go ahead.
Agreed. So Soleimani runs the Quds forces. Do you expect his behavior is going to change as a result of this deal with Iran?
I think that Iran right now is in the driver's seat to do whatever they want to do. I think what's happening with Iran is, I think it's one of the, and I covered it very well, I assume you saw the news conference. I think Iran it's one of the great deals ever made for them. I think it's one of the most incompetent contracts I've ever seen. I'm not just talking about defense. I'm not talking about a contract with another country. I've never seen more of a one-sided deal, I think, in my life. Absolutely.
Now, this is obviously incredibly disturbing for multiple reasons. He has no idea who Soleimani is.
No.
And then also, he apparently thought that we had treated the Kurds really poorly.
Yeah.
And was determined to see if he could top that as well.
Yeah.
Based upon what he did with the Kurds in northern Syria. The interesting thing about it is that I think Hugh Hewitt's premise was correct. The Iranian nuke deal was not in any way even contemplated to impact the behavior of Soleimani, who was basically in charge of the Iranian, he was in charge of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, but all of its sort of like satellite programs that are throughout the region.
Yeah.
And the whole premise of the JPOAC, or essentially the Iranian nuke deal, was to deal specifically with Iran's nuke program, not the other stuff.
Yeah.
Donald Trump didn't seem to know about any of it.
That was fascinating because it was less an interview than candidate training.
Yes.
It was a briefing for Donald Trump. Like, and Hewitt was like, first, asked a question and was like, let me explain.
Right.
They're the bad guys.
The bad guy.
And Trump is just sort of already repeating something he's heard that he knows he's supposed to believe. And Hewitt's like, I got to fill in the rest for you. Those are the bad guys. We don't like them. Obama is enabling them. Like, so that, I don't know. But yeah, so to believe that guy giving that response had really any coherent reason for wanting to do what just happened then, like, there's no way.
Right. The only thing that we know is that he has the ability to be convinced of things when he thinks that it's in his benefit. And this question came up when I spoke to Nasser, but it's quite conceivable that any number of things happened in terms of, like, the intelligence was wrong. They thought that just the other guy, Muhandis, was present. This is the Iraqi leader of a Iranian-backed militia group in Iraq. And he was personally involved in the protests and the storming of the embassy. The American forces may have been trying to, sort of like make a proportionate assassination, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not condoning it. I'm just trying to explain this. And didn't realize that Soleimani was there.
Yeah.
But they subsequently took credit for it.
Yes, exactly.
Which you can also see Trump going like, I'm not saying we made a mistake.
Yeah.
But it also conceivable that they got intelligence that didn't tell them that Soleimani was going to be there, because the intelligence, I mean, who's giving them the intelligence on the ground in Baghdad? It could be Iraqis who want to get Soleimani out. Could be rivals, could be Saudis, could be Israelis. I mean, these are all people these are all countries that have, intelligence.
Both, intelligence operations and an interest in dictating U.S. foreign policy.
Exactly. And it's also conceivable that, somewhere along the line, it's, MBS is like, we took care of that whole Khashoggi thing. I got rid of some of my top lieutenants, my top guys. So you owe me one, right? I mean, isn't that the way it worked in like Goodfellas or whatever it was? Like, I took out one of the guys. And so now, I want that share of the contract on the dock. Let's play this interview. We'll come back. We will talk more about it. This is